All right. Hey, Troy. Nice to be here with you. I guess for everyone watching, this is Troy, the founder of Swim. We're going to be kind of talking through Troy's background and learning more about your project. So thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Love to be here.
Yeah, first, do you mind giving kind of our audience a little bit of background on yourself, how you got into the industry, and what led you to this point?
Yeah, certainly. A little bit about myself. Went to school at Berkeley, studied math and computer science. Right out of school, I worked at a quant firm and at SIG, Susquehanna International Group. And kind of in 2017, I saw ETH hit 400 for the first time. And at that stage, it was merely kind of through the lens of financial markets. It looked like a new asset class was being born. And so at that time, I transitioned into crypto from a purely trading perspective. Joined Alameda and kind of been with Alameda for 3 years. So explored kind of trading, and then we branched into OTC. There was FTX, DeFi, and kind of when DeFi happened, it really kind of changed a lot of things. From initially, the way I viewed it was kind of just another financial market with its own intricacies to trade. And then with DeFi, it attracted tons of capital to the blockchain and controlled by smart contracts. And I kind of saw the power of that had to captivate kind of the audience, and which it did, and the ability to do so much more than what did happen in 2020. And so kind of in 2021, I left Alameda and saw that a bunch of L1s were kind of starting to proliferate. And to facilitate that with capital, decided to build Swim, basically kind of a way to move native assets, which is the form of the asset that you can actually use across chains.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That's good to hear. That's actually the year I kind of came into crypto as well, when everything kind of went crazy in 17, and then yeah, I've been doing this for like 4 years or so now, which is crazy. So yeah, so it makes sense what led you to Swim. Yeah, definitely smart the way you're kind of looking at the market with the layer ones and the need to kind of connect the dots. So I know like Wormhole is one example that was doing that in a little bit of a different way, and then I think you took the approach on the liquidity side of things. So maybe talk through like where Swim has gone since the beginning, where you guys started, and then what's your kind of growth strategy? How have you guys expanded? And we can go from there.
Yeah, certainly. So when we first started, the DeFi landscape looked a lot different. At that time, about 75% of the TVL was on Ethereum. Binance Smart Chain had just come on the scene. It's still called Binance Smart Chain at the time, had about 25% of the TVL, and Solana was less than 1%. And so our initial design for Swim was kind of to connect Binance Smart Chain, Solana, and Ethereum through Wormhole, basically. And Wormhole at the time didn't have a UI; it was kind of command line only interface. So yeah, that was our initial design. Use kind of this great cross-chain primitive that they built, and kind of combine these three ecosystems to a way where you can move native assets between the three of them. Now the landscape's changed a lot since then, and so has Swim. We've added a ton of different meta pools. As you guys know, L1 space is much different now than it is back then. We've added, I think we're up to about 8 different ecosystems now, meta pooling into our kind of main pool to connect each of the ecosystems. And the thing that we're most excited kind of going forward is to take our cross-chain interaction that does a variety of different things on the source chain, kind of cross-chain, and then on the target chain all together, so that we can kind of package that in a plugin that can plug into like any DApp on any ecosystem. But yeah, that's just a little bit about kind of where we are and where we have been.
Awesome. For people who may be new to Swim, could you just explain kind of what the meta pool is, and then what problem you guys were solving when you built that?
Yeah. So basically there are to answer a question to add context to that, there's basically two main ways to transport value from one chain to another chain. The first one is minting a wrapped asset, which is kind of what Wormhole does. And the second one, if you want to do native assets, you basically need like reservoirs of native assets, and then something that you do to balance those out in order to give people something to bridge to. And so the meta pools basically is, in our design, what we think one of the most capital efficient ways to basically park capital to make a functioning bridge for native pools, native assets. So basically by adding kind of Swim USD and let's say Acala USDT, we're able to tap into the entire liquidity of Swim USD and provide a route for a native asset, USDC, BUSD, USDT on any of the chains that we're connected to, and facilitate a route from that to Akala USDT.
Makes sense. So for Acala or Karura users, for that matter, what this allows them to do is basically going from, let's say they have USDC or another stablecoin on Solana or Ethereum or Avalanche, and they want to get onto the 3 pool on Karura using USDT. They can take whatever stablecoin they have to Swim and simply swap to the Karura USDT, and they're ready to go. That's basically it, right?
That's basically it. Yep. Yeah. And on the Swim side, we handle the cross-chain and pool routing. So the user just picks from, to, and Swim handles everything else.
So who do you see as your most, do you have any idea around your most kind of common types of users? Are these, like what are these users typically trying to do? I guess, are they traders, or do you have any ideas around that?
Yeah, so it's a common user would be someone who does a variety of different blockchain things on different chains. So let's say a typical user might look like this. They might have stuff parked on Uniswap on Ethereum, stuff parked on like Pancake or Venus on Binance Smart Chain, and they're like trying to dabble in Solana, or there's new exciting DeFi stuff happening on Acala, and they want to explore that too. And so right now, one common route is to go through centralized exchanges. And if you don't want to go through centralized exchanges, then kind of your routes are limited or extremely illiquid based on like where you're going to what you're going. And Swim is basically allows users who have multi-chain portfolios to move assets kind of simply between each of those portfolios and do what they want to do on those chains.
Makes a lot of sense. So you guys, we just announced the integration with you guys on Karura, and then Akala is coming very soon. Could you maybe talk about, I know this is probably the eighth chain that you guys integrated with. So maybe just talk about your decision to build with us at Akala and kind of what went into that decision.
Yeah, kind of Polkadot in kind of its parent chains, quite a unique ecosystem. And they provide functionality that's just very unique to kind of like the L1 space, like things you can't do in EVM or on like Solana Rust. Kind of one of my favorite ones actually in particular is being able to do like event-driven things because most blockchains are transaction driven. That limits what you can do in terms of just building cool things for your app. But yeah, Acala and Karura is kind of like the DeFi hub, and so that naturally feels like the kind of entry point into the whole ecosystem if you're trying to move capital, at least for now at this stage. And so kind of super excited about the ecosystem as a whole. Kind of makes sense to plug into the DeFi part of the ecosystem. And so we built a swim route to there.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Oh, so go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's going to be fun to watch like flows of tokens. I know Polkadot and Kusama are kind of lacking on the like really hardcore blockchain analytics tools. But once that stuff gets up and running more, being able to watch the flow of like, let's say a stablecoin from Solana to Karura, and then even Karura as like a almost like an entry point or port of entry to the whole Kusama ecosystem. So let's say a stablecoin like USDT comes onto Karura, but then that could flow into a money market on Moonriver, or a DEX or money market on Shiden, like all the other chains. So it's going to be really cool to see the impact you guys make, not only on Acala and Karura, but on the whole kind of ecosystem. It's definitely coming.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I'm excited to, yeah, moving around capital, kind of played around with that while we were integrating. It looks super cool. Can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah. So I guess looking forward over the next year, a couple of years, where do you see Swim going? Like, what are your guys' plans? I know you mentioned um, this additional plugin, which sounds really cool, and I guess would be kind of embedded in that experience of that given app that you integrate with. But anything else you can kind of share around future plans?
Yeah. I guess I'd dive a little bit more about like that plugin and
Yeah.
what that means and what that enables. So kind of right now, to do a cross-chain interaction through Swim, the user using the UI needs to do things on, say, the first chain, wait for things to happen in between the chains, and then do things on the target chain. And so what this plugin or like SDK kind of means is basically we're building a trustless way to facilitate the whole flow with one kickoff transaction. And why that's super interesting is because that makes it super easy to integrate. So right now, what we've built is like a way where you can go to Swim.io, you can click the assets you want to go from and the assets you want to go to, and you can click through them. Now, with one transaction, that makes it so that you can plug it into basically any app. And so kind of one of the super exciting things, just to give an example, is we're talking to wallets and multi-chain wallets in particular. And so as you've probably used Phantom or MetaMask, you can see that there's in-wallet swaps, and that basically plugs into something, Jupiter for Phantom and Matcha for MetaMask, but basically that taps into a swap and it does the swap on behalf. Now, if you plug in Swim into that plugin, you're basically able to go from any chain to any chain in that cross-chain wallet. And so really enabling these kinds of integrations really is kind of like the goal for Swim, and the kind of eventual goal of like doing integrations like this is to actually kind of take care of all this cross-chain headache that people have to do right now, and really try to make the cross-chain experience seamless. So you can just open any app. You don't have to worry about what chain it is, and it should just work, is kind of the eventual goal.
That's awesome. Definitely a huge problem you guys are kind of tackling. Anything else you want to kind of leave people with, or best place to kind of keep up with what you guys are working on?
Yeah, the best places to keep up would be kind of our Twitter, Swim Protocol, as well as our Discord. Right now, we're kind of in the lull of working on a super big project, but super exciting updates when we do push that out, which enables us to do kind of a lot of quick integrations. But yeah, love to hear feedback as you guys go and try out the new Kura meta pool. Love to hear anything, and we're super adaptive to kind of our users, and a lot of the features we've released have been suggestions in our Discord. So love to hear anything you guys have to say.
Yeah, the feedback internally has even been insanely good, actually, because we've been testing out some like bridge UIs to bring assets into Karura, and then the same kind of team was working on even like tutorials and guides for Swim, and they were coming to me like, "Oh my God, this is so easy!" So yeah, it's definitely great feedback so far. And then yeah, I guess from my end, the only thing, the main thing for people to look forward to as far as new progress between us is, of course, Swim's launch on Acala. So we're The EVM is actually ready. We're just waiting on a couple things before we launch Wormhole, and then I'm sure Swim will be one of the first kind of dApps to launch with us in the EVM Plus environment on the Acala side. So yeah, with that, I think we can wrap up. But thanks for the time, Troy, and definitely see you soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right.